Hello students, welcome back. I hope you all are doing well at your home. So let us start with the next interesting chapter, the shelter. Kindness is a great virtue. We see many people around us who require our help, but most of the time we turn away from them without helping them. If everyone became helpful, this world would be a different place to live in. So this is a story about kindness, and let us see students how the narrator narrates this story and how narrator is telling everyone to be helpful. Mr. K.K. Birla was a great business scion. So the name of the character is K.K. Birla and he is a big businessman. Once he was in Bombay for a business meeting. He had a busy day with just about half an hour to spare between his appointments. So he was very busy and he had only half an hour to spare between his appointments. He did not want to miss his daily walk in a desperate hurry. So in a very desperate hurry, he did not want to leave his walk, so he gets up, he puts on his walking shoes and left the hotel for his walk. When he started the walk on Marine Drive, he suddenly realized that he had forgotten to bring the umbrella. He looked at the sky. It was very cloudy, so when Mr. K.K. Birla went out to take a walk, he saw that it was about to rain and he forgot his umbrella. He looked at the sky, it was cloudy. So the sky was cloudy and it was about to rain, but it was not raining yet. He only wanted to take a short walk on Marine Drive and then return to the hotel. So it wasn't raining yet and Mr. K.K. Birla thought that he will soon return to his hotel before the rain will come. After he had walked for about 10 minutes, it started drizzling. What do we mean by drizzling here, students? That it started raining. He cursed the Mumbai weather and looked around. So, what do we mean by cursed here, students? That he became angry with Mumbai's weather, which was very unpredictable and it has already started drizzling and raining. A little ahead, there was a small hut, a sort of an improvised cabin. The Marine Drive path for people to walk was under repair. The Marine Drive path for people to walk was under repair. So he saw a improvised cabin, so he is going to take a shelter in that place. He guessed that this cabin was probably a tool room for repairman. He rushed towards that cabin. So that he shouldn't get wet. So he rushed to that cabin to take a shelter. By that time, the rain had intensified and he was getting thoroughly drenched. So what do we mean by drenched? That he was already wet. He ran faster, taking care not to trip as the path was very slippery. So he is running very carefully and he wants to get inside the cabin so that he doesn't get wet. When he reached the cabin, he discovered that it indeed was a tiny simple room for storing small instruments of repair work. So it was a small cabin where the tools were kept for the repairmen to repair everything in that building. The shed was completely full. So that cabin was completely full and there were instruments lying here and there. Also in the cabin there were about half a dozen of people who had already taken shelter from the rain. So the cabin was filled and there were so many people who took shelter in that cabin so that they don't get wet. He thought he had no chance of getting an entry because the cabin was already full. So K.K. Birla, he thought he had no chance of getting an entry. So the cabin was already full and he did not get a chance to enter inside that cabin and take shelter. But all the same, he asked hopefully, can I also come in? So he asked everyone who was already present inside the cabin that can I please come in? The people in the shed replied with one voice, the cabin is full. So everyone replied in one voice that the cabin is full, there is no room at all for another person. Try elsewhere. It reminded him of his days in 1950s when he used to travel by train. So this reminded Mr. K.K. Birla of the time he used to travel in trains, and the trains used to be very crowded. Though he always had his seat reserved in advance to travel in comfort, but whenever he got down on the platform, he could see the rush for the third class compartment. So, although Mr. K.K. Birla had his seat reserved in advance, but he always saw a great rush for the third class compartment. A large number of people would try to enter each of these compartments. Those inside would all unite and try to prevent the former from getting in. So what they all used to do, they all used to rush inside the cabin of that filled train compartments, and they all used to unite and push the people who were coming inside. First they were getting inside, and now they all are uniting and pushing the people who were already part of the crowd. One of the two muscle men would force their way in. So now one of the two strong men would force their way in, and as soon as they were inside and as soon as they used to get inside, they would join the other people, those who are inside, and resist the outsiders to come inside, forgetting that a few minutes earlier they themselves were the part of that crowd. So the people first used to struggle to get inside, and once they have got inside, they used to unite with other people who were already there in the train compartment to push the people who were getting inside. The same thing happened to me when he tried to enter the cabin, except that he did not use any force. So now the same thing happened with K.K. Birla today also when he was trying to enter the cabin, that everyone inside the cabin were trying to stop him from getting inside. Nor was he in a position to do so. But K.K. Birla did one thing, he did not push the people or applied any kind of force to get inside the cabin. Those inside were mostly people from middle class. Then suddenly he heard a voice, "Let uncle come in. He appears to be a retired person. Senior person should always be given priority." So a person said from behind the cabin that please let this old man come inside. He looks very old and he is a retired person and he should always be the priority. So let him inside the cabin. But there were some who did not agree. Another voice said, "This cabin is completely full. Where is a space in it?" So now the other person is saying that the cabin is completely full and we cannot take K.K. Birla inside. Then a third voice put in, "The person who wants uncle to come in should himself go out." So now the third person is saying that whoever wants this uncle to come inside the cabin, they should go out. In that case, uncle can certainly come inside the shed. But the first voice was firm. He brushed aside all these objectives. He said in an authoritative voice. So the first voice who was claiming that Mr. K.K. Birla should come inside, that person said in an authoritative voice that there are some instruments lying for the repair in an haphazard manner. Put them one above the other so that some space can be created. So the first voice, in a very authoritative and firm manner, he is saying that let us put all these instruments aside and create a little space for the uncle to come inside. After some mumbling, the others followed his instructions, and so the K.K. Birla was squeezed inside. So now the K.K. Birla is inside and all the instruments were kept aside. The rain was pouring. He was getting drenched. It was dark inside and he could not see who his benefactor was. So it was very dark inside the cabin and the KK Birla could not see who his benefactor, which means that who was the person who helped him get inside the cabin. Who couldn't see, KK Birla couldn't see the man who let him inside the cabin because it was already so dark and he was drenching. Again the same voice boomed, "Uncle, you are getting wet. Please come at the back. One of us can go in the front." So this brings us to the end of the students chapter. I hope you enjoyed and learnt a very valuable lesson today. Thank you.